Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 out in theaters now just had a big opening weekend and yet a disappointing opening weekend at the same time. Now, look, just so you know, to me, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, other than Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, is my favorite movie of the year. So yeah, overall, it's my second favorite movie of the year. I love this movie. I was buzzing when I came out of the theaters. I cannot wait to go back to the theaters and watch Dead Reckoning Part 1 again. It's an absolutely fantastic, and honestly, to me, I think it's the best film in the franchise so far. I absolutely loved it. Now, the box office results from the opening weekend of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning is a little bit of a tale of two movies. On the one hand, overall, global, worldwide, and it opened in a big 70 markets on the same weekend, okay? But it opened to $235 million in its big global thing, but that is not the official opening weekend box office number. The official opening weekend box office number is $56.2 million, which is making some outlets, like we just saw on the screen there, like Variety mentioned, that it was actually a bit of a disappointing opening weekend for Mission Impossible. I am a little bit confused as to why American audiences are not embracing and rushing out to see these Mission Impossible movies. I mean, these Mission Impossible movies, I mean, they happen on a global, stage. They happen all over the world, but it is like the epitome of the American-made action film, right? And it's a little bit confusing. And actually, even when you just compare, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning to the other Mission Impossible movies, like just the other Mission Impossible movies, the opening weekend of this one doesn't really hold up all that great, as we took a look at it here. So Dead Reckoning Part 1 just opened at $56.2 million. Fallout, the last one that opened up, had a bigger opening weekend at 61. Rogue Nation, all the way back in 2015, had roughly the equivalent of 55 million. Ghost Protocol opened to 29 million. Now, we put a little asterisk besides that because that's the official opening weekend of May 29. It did open in a limited release the weekend before that and made a little bit of extra money, so that's why we put the asterisk there. And then when you go all the way back to Mission Impossible 3 in 2006, had a $47 million opening weekend. Now, when you talk about official opening weekend numbers, you're always talking about domestic, the American audiences, right? Why the American audiences are not rushing out to see this movie and why they are not supporting this movie the same way that, say, international audiences are, is a little bit beyond me. And actually, it gets even worse when you start to compare the opening weekend box office of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 to the opening weekend of other films this year. I think it's only the 11th or 12th biggest opening. Mario Brothers opened to 146, Spider-Verse 120. Remember, these are all films that opened ahead of Mission Impossible. Guardians 3 at 118, Ant-Man 3 at 106, Little Mermaid made 95 million, almost double what Mission Impossible did. John Wick Chapter 4 made 73 million, Fast X made 67, Transformers Rise of the Beasts, Optimus Prime beat Tom Cruise, $61 million. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny made $60 million. Creed 3 made $58 million. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 made $56 million. Now, it should be pointed out that some people, if you're watching this right now, you might be a little bit confused. You might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, I thought I heard Mission Impossible made 80. No. See, what happened is the same thing like with Little Mermaid, right? Like Little Mermaid on its loose opening weekend made like $126 million. But the real opening weekend number for Little Mermaid was not 126 million because you don't count a 5-day weekend. You count the proper weekend, and the proper weekend for Little Mermaid was not 126, it was 95. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 had a 5-day opening, but you only officially count the 3-day, much like Little Mermaid, ended up at $56 million. So again, to me, a spectacular movie that is going to actually have a little bit of a struggle breaking even. Because you got to keep in mind that this movie was a very expensive movie to make. Variety said this. Says the only trouble is the movie which finds Cruise's durable hero Ethan Hunt defying death as he flies off mountains on his motorcycle, scales runaway trains, and maneuvers a tiny car through the bustling streets of Rome was incredibly expensive to make. Due to COVID-related starts and stops and other pandemic-era safety measures, Paramount and Skydance spent $291 million before marketing costs. So even as Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer and Greta Gerwig's Barbie open on July 21st, Dead Reckoning Part 1 needs to continue resonating in global box office to turn a profit in its theatrical run. In other words, I mean, we all remember those stories that like Tom Cruise, like rented entire giant yachts and cruise ships to keep his crew on. So he kept them separated from the general population to try to protect his crew and his cast from COVID and all that kind of stuff. The starts and the stops, the ups and downs. It was a very expensive movie to make. And they marketed the shit out of this movie. From what I heard, they had $150 million marketing spend on this. And I think that's conservative. I've heard other people say it was higher than that, but let's go conservative. $150 million. You're talking about a movie now that needs to clear $700 to $750 million to break even. Right? And here's the problem that Mission Impossible is going to face. Barbie is projected to make anywhere between $85 and $100 million next weekend. Oppenheimer is projected to make anywhere between $50 and $60 million opening weekend. So I think we're going to see some pretty stiff competition here for Mission Impossible moving forward, despite the fact that it is like one of my favorite movies of the year. Because guys, if you have not seen this, what are you waiting for? This movie is awesome. Go out and see it. But it's going to have a hard time breaking even, despite the fact that it's opened, at least on a global scale, pretty darn big. Can it keep that up? Now, the good news is, Variety also continues to write this. The good news is that Mission Impossible movies have a history of overcoming smaller opening weekends at the box office. In 2018, Mission Impossible Fallout, for example, made $61 million domestically to start, and it ended up setting a series record with $791 million globally. Okay, so basically, Mission Impossible is one of these franchises that, like Avatar, can have modest opening weekends, but they thrive on their legs. And they have legs because they're great cinema. They're great times at the movie theater. Now, can Fallout Part 1 duplicate that success? Not really sure. Again, it's going to run into some strong headwinds this coming weekend with Oppenheimer and Barbie, so it's going to be tough.
We want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, your utility bills and favorite streaming services, inflation is everywhere. Seriously, make it stop. Thankfully, there's one company out there that's giving you a much-needed break. It's Mint Mobile. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. You guys know that ever since I switched to Mint Mobile, I've been saving almost 70% a month over my old phone plan. For people looking for extra savings this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. By going online only and eliminating the traditional cost of retail, Mint Mobile passes the significant savings on to you. All of their plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Did you see Mission Impossible Fallout or Dead Reckoning Part 1? If so, what did you think of it? Do you like it as much as me? Maybe not as much, maybe more. How do you think it's going to hold up in its weekend number 2 against big newcomers like Barbie and Oppenheimer? With the huge expense of the movie and the huge marketing budget, can this be a movie that actually breaks even? Can it pick up on those legs that the other movies have had? Or is it going to run into strong headwinds and not be able to cross that break-even mark? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks a lot for watching our video. Make sure you do all the standard stuff, subscribe to the channel, click the thumbs up button. But listen also, we do a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, hour-long show every day. Make sure you go and subscribe to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice.